I've been planting trees for a long time, for the last, probably close to 30 years. And now I just can't get it out of my system. I just can't leave it alone. Yeah. So it's good to be able to pass it on to other people. Yeah. And when the fires were on, I was over at Mount Island at Rosie's place, because it was already burned in there, and this wasn't under threat. So we were. There was a little dozer over there, and we were. There was a young lad on the dozer, and we were opening up the tracks, and we were pulling the fires up on the fresh fire trails, and then and we were sort of getting ready for an overrun, because we thought, well, we might get overrun. And I was looking at the forest, and I was saying, well, it'll trickle through there, and Rosie was saying it'll crown through there. So we had the two different opinions. So we got ready for the worst, and we set the cars up, because the worst, because what can happen is the fire comes through and it sucks all the air out of the oxygen out of the air. So we were getting ready for that, and then we were, anyway, the dozer was working away around the house, and then he found some of the water pipes and burst the water pipes, and it drained the tanks, the little water that was in the tank. So we thought, we got to go. So we jumped in the cars and we went down the road. We got to the fire shed, and I stepped out of the car, and my phone beeped, and it said, just jump from Mollydale into your place. And it was just a real quick message.
So that was from Tyringham, sort of south of
which is just over here. So we were at the fire shed, and I could see the big ball of smoke just going up the hill. I was like, oh no, can't watch that. And then, so I couldn't even come in. I didn't want to come down that road. Didn't want to ask anybody to come in that road. So we just went back to Rosie's place and focused on that. And then there were some people from. They were doing a blockade at the Kalang, and they come over to help us. And they thought, well, forestry's busy, they're not. And so they came over and they helped us, and they were great. They did one big shift, 48 hours. They just didn't stop for 48 hours. And then, anyway...
so that was a lot of handwork, and it saved a lot of rainforest pockets and things.
It did. And they were going in with the chainsaws and hand tools, and then there was doing the mop up, which you just got to keep walking up and down and make sure it's not going to jump into the unburnt. And then they were doing a lot of that. And then we had no water, so nobody could shower, and we were all black. And then anyway, we come in. This crew come in, and they had a feed, and Rosie says, "Have a meal and go to bed." And so we just had to climb into our beds with our black clothes, as we did, and then we had so we had it all under control over there. So we come in here. It took 2 days to cut in. We had to cut trees up, so we could get vehicles through. Then we got to here, and then all these young people they walked down the bottom because there was trees all down the road. And I had a caravan and a shed I was using as a store shed, and I had a shade house like this one down there. And they walked down and they says, "Okay, we found the shade house. It's still good, not been touched." And then and I said, "What about my caravan?" And then they sent a picture, and it was just it just smashed. And then I said, "What about the water tanks there to the west?" And then they went over and they sent another picture.
The shade house, the pots melted on the edges, didn't they?
It just stopped. And this, my caravan and shed here, it was black. This is all black. And the flames come up to the shed and stopped. And, we were looking at it and thought, well, I've got friends in high places, eh? What can you say?
And Bob lost everything up there.
Bob, my brother, lost everything. And then Christmas Eve there, we had 25 mil of rain, and I think everybody in the district slept. Well, there was, a lot of this forest burnt, and I was looking, and I was walking. It stopped on a lot of the rainforest. It just naturally stopped on its own. Yeah. And because when I first walked in, you could see the eucalypt forest. It just and it did. And where it had a heavy, thick understory, it was less intense, because you can see by the scorch marks on the trees. And it killed the understory, it took the understory out. And then where down the back here where it's blady grass, I can see where the trees were scorched right up to the top branches. And then when it went, as it went towards the rainforest, you can see the flame heights had dropped, and then it just trickled into the rainforest and stopped. And then there was, because there was 80 kilometre hour winds when it come through, and I was walking through the rainforest, this is about a week afterwards, and there was black spots on the ground where the spots had landed, and they started to burn and just went out on their own. A lot of the rainforest, because at Mount Highland there, we spent a lot of time there stopping it from coming into the rainforest. It was stopping on its own, it just coming up to the edge and just stopping. And then we were going through and cutting up the cutting any smouldering logs, so it didn't trickle in.
The rest of the rainforest is still moist enough.
There was no moisture. There was no moisture.
We'd had 6 years of drought.
Bowerbirds. I was putting out. I've always been putting out water and food for them to come in and bring seeds in for me. But then I was patching up a caravan down the bottom there, and I pulled the mirror off this door and I left it outside. And then I was coming in the mirror. I noticed after a couple of weeks there's all these seeds there, and the bowerbird the male bowerbird was coming in and he's dancing in front of the mirror, and he's dropping. He was dropping all these seeds for me, you know. So I got him working for me, and then so I put a tub of water there, and because I was sitting there having lunch and I could see him there dancing in front of the mirror, and I thought, okay, so I'll put a tub of water there, and then it was just the right distance away, and he's standing up on the side and he's dropping all the seeds in the water for me, and such an easy. And so there's an American lad, he was working out of the university and he's studying fungus, and he says, I told him about that, and he said, you want to write a paper on that? I said, I couldn't write a paper, you know. And then a couple of months later, he kept having to go at me to write a paper, and he says, look, he says, I'll do it all for you, you just give me the information. So I was going through all my notes, and then so he did. So he wrote it all out. We did 37 species that the birds were bringing in, and so I couldn't have done it without Todd. I just supplied the information, and he wrote the paper. These fellas here, Oliver's sassafras, and these little fellas here, they're lily pillies, creek lily pilly. Quite a common tree, very hardy, but they like to grow along waterways and they don't mind getting wet feet. Great bird food. This one here, it's a blueberry ash, small tree, and they get these blue fruits on them, as the name implies, and they taste really tangy, and when you eat the fruit, it gives you a lot of energy. It picks your energy up. Yeah.